Good morning, fellow commission members, staff members, honored guests. Today's date is September the 21st, 2009. It's approximately 9:30. I'm Walt Valentine, Commission Chair. I'll now call to order the meeting of the Tennessee Private Investigation and Polygraph Commission. Executive Director Cody Vest, please call the roll.
Thank you. And for the court reporter today, this is 2018 still. Here. we understand. Okay. All right. Stuart Bain.
Stuart Bain, present.
David Brown.
Present.
Larry Flair.
Present.
Robin Johnston. Rick Jones. Jerry Richards. Alan Russo.
Present.
Walt Valentine.
Present.
Let the record show that Robin Johnston and Rick Jones are not present, but you do have a quorum.
Oh.
Sir?
I'm here.
Oh, your name. I apologize for that. And Doug Shanks is with us.
Okay. The next item for approval is the agenda. I'd like to ask each commission member if they've received and had time to review a copy of the agenda, and if so, is there a motion to adopt this agenda?
I'll make a motion that Commissioner Brown, make a motion that we adopt it.
Commissioner Bain, second.
Been moved and seconded that we adopt the agenda. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the last Education Committee and Commission meeting. Has each commission member received and had time to review the copy of these minutes? And if so, is there a motion to adopt these minutes?
Make a motion to adopt.
Doug Shanks, second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded that we adopt the minutes. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair. I'm sorry, but we're going to have to back up because I have to do a roll call since we have one of our commission members is on the phone.
You can't hear him?
I didn't hear him vote at all.
Yes, I did.
You did?
Both. Yes.
All right. Would you identify yourself when you do call in to vote? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Next on the agenda is the legal report by the staff attorney.
Good morning. Stuart Huffman for the department. Number one on the legal report is 2018-025-961. Complainant hired respondent for services during her divorce/custody trial in August of 2016. Complainant and respondent have kept in contact since the investigation was concluded. Complainant alleges respondent recently asked for a $5,000 loan, and when she refused, respondent sent her an alleged unpaid bill for investigation services of over $28,000. Complainant alleges she paid respondent in full. Complainant also provided text showing the respondent was requesting a loan and believes she is being extorted. Complainant also alleges respondent has contacted her ex-husband and made false allegations and statements. In respondent's letter, he makes serious allegations against complainant, to which complainant denies. Respondent states complainant and he were in a personal relationship after the divorce, and complainant used this relationship to avoid paying the invoice. Respondent states the $5,000 request was for a partial payment towards the invoice and not a loan. Respondent admits to calling complainant's ex-husband knowing that he would relay any message to the complainant. Respondent denies any and all allegations. Complainant rebutted, saying that her ex-husband told her that respondent offered to sell information about complainant for $5,000 and the case that could cause her to lose custody of her children. the ex-husband confirm this exchange with the investigator. The recommendation is to authorize formal charges and send consent order with a civil penalty in the amount of $1,000 for violation of Tennessee Rules and Regs 1175-04-.05 conflicts of interest. No licensee or employee of a licensee shall contact or cause to be contacted any individual under investigation for the purpose of revealing confidential information to that individual. And Tennessee Rules and Regs 1175-04-.07 confidential client information. Licensee shall not disclose confidential information without the specific consent of the client.
Any discussion by the commission?
Stuart Bain may have a question. Reading something.
Commissioner Brown, he owes a fine from a previous case. Is that?
It goes back to 2000, so there's not much information. I think it was more of a renewal of an application fine, but I couldn't confirm it.
Alan Russo, I have a question to council.
Go ahead, Alan.
Council, what is your recommendation to the commission?
My recommendation on this complaint, this is actually against the individual, is a $1,000 civil penalty.
Thank you.
Commissioner Brown, is that amount in keeping with what we've done in similar cases?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
I just want to be sure.
Okay, Commissioner Bain, that answers my question.
Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion. We accept council's recommendation.
Second, Bain.
Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Alan Russo, aye.
Do a roll call vote. Since we'll need to do a roll call vote. So
Okay, let's do a roll call vote then.
Stuart Bain,
Present. And aye.
David Brown,
Aye.
Larry Flair,
Aye.
Jerry Richards,
Aye.
Alan Russo,
Aye.
Doug Shanks,
Aye.
Walt Valentine.
Aye.
Your ayes have it.
Okay. The second legal report.
All right, number 2018-02-6001. This is the exact complaint previously discussed. It's just against the company. The recommendation is to authorize formal charges and a consent order with a civil penalty in the amount of $500 for violation of Tennessee Rules and Regs 1175-04-.06. Sub 4, the licensee shall not bill a client for services or expenses which have not been provided or incurred. And this goes back to sending an invoice with no detailed history.
Any further discussion?
Commissioner Bain, just one comment. I consider this almost egregious, and find I concur with the council on authorizing formal charges.
I think you, Mr. Huffman, could you explain the difference in paying the fine and formal charges?
Right.
Thank you.
What we're doing, we're authorizing formal charges against that person. However, in the consent order, this is more of they can pay the fine and then we do not go to a hearing, or they do not pay the fine and then we actually go to a hearing automatically.
What is the options in the hearing?
The options are anywhere from a civil penalty to revocation
Of the license.
of the license.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Commissioner Bain, thank you for the clarification.
Welcome.
Do I hear a motion?
Make the motion that we accept the recommendation. Richards.
Commissioner Brown, seconded.
Moved and seconded to approve. All in favor say aye. Roll call.
Stuart Bain,
Aye.
David Brown,
Aye.
Larry Flair,
Aye.
Jerry Richards,
Aye.
Alan Russo,
Aye.
Doug Shanks,
Aye.
Walt Valentine.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Okay. Number 3.
Number 3, 2018-048-241. Complainant claims they hired respondent to investigate allegations that his former probate attorney had colluded with a bank to limit the bank's liability in a lost will case. Complainant later retained another probate attorney, however states that the current probate attorney and respondent refused to discuss complainant's collusion allegations against the former probate attorney. Complainant alleges he filed Board of Professional Responsibility complaints against both attorneys and they were disciplined. Respondent contracted with the probate attorney and not the complainant. Respondent also states that there were no disciplinary actions taken against either probate attorney or himself. Respondent had earlier concerns of complainant would tie himself and the probate attorney into his alleged conspiracy with the bank simply because they disagreed with the allegations. Respondent also states that the parties, including probate attorney, respondent, and complainant, agreed in writing that they would not be pursuing the conspiracy or collusion allegations. Recommendation is to close.
Any discussion? Comments?
Make the motion, Larry Flair, that we accept council's recommendation to close the case.
I hear a second.
Shanks
Alan.
seconds.
Moved and seconded to follow the recommendations of council. Roll call.
Stuart Bain,
Aye.
David Brown,
Aye.
Larry Flair,
Aye.
Jerry Richards,
Aye.
Alan Russo,
Aye.
Doug Shanks,
Aye.
Walt Valentine.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Number 4.
Number 4, 2018-048-511. This complaint is actually against the company of the previous complaint. So the summary is the same, and the recommendation is the same to close.
Commissioner Brown, approve it, the council's order.
Doug Shanks seconds it.
Moved and seconded to approve. Any discussion? All, call the roll.
Stuart Bain,
Aye.
David Brown,
Aye.
Larry Flair,
Aye.
Jerry Richards,
Aye.
Alan Russo,
Aye.
Doug Shanks,
Aye.
Walt Valentine.
Aye.
Ayes have it, sir.
Motion carries. Thank you, sir.
That concludes the legal report.
Next, do we have anyone wanting to appear before the commission?
No, sir. No, sir.
Administrative Matters, Executive Director Cody Vest.
We have just a couple of things before we move on to our correspondence. You've received your monthly reports. That's for July and August. Send those out in advance. At the complaints, and all you had was those 4 complaints. The budget review of the totals for January, you're in the red, $1,589. Carter Lawrence was not able to be with us today. Your next meeting is in November, and I have asked if you could attend that meeting to help. We'll just be discussing the budget at that time. I have can't hold it down there. You got it. Because I don't have any legislative update. We don't have any application review. And we left the terminology correspondence on there, but we have a state comparison study. You asked me at the last meeting if I would go out and pull out some information and see if I could determine the trends in your industry. We went out, 2 staff members, which Jeff Winfrey is with us today. He's going to do the presentation. Bradley Parks also participated in gathering this information, which took weeks to do. And from there, I'm going to go ahead and let Jeff get started with the presentation, and then we'll answer questions afterwards.
Thank you for being here.
If you would separate, come off to the other sides, you can look in that screen there. It's going to be on your screen.
Window.
Try to make sure it works from here. There you go.
Okay.
That one better, that's fine. Just
Good morning. It's an honor to be here to make this presentation for you. I attended the previous meeting when I first started working here, and I heard some of the questions that you all had, and then Cody came to me a couple of 3 weeks ago and asked she asked if Bradley and I would get together and put this presentation together and try to get some information for you. And so we started on that. My name is Jeff Winfrey. I started in July. I think Bradley's been he's been working here since February or something like that. So both of us worked on this. He contributed about half the information that I'm going to share with you, and we just sort of divided the amount of information up to work on. The questions that we were given to try to come up with answers. Number one, what's the initial fee for a private investigator to be licensed in other states? So basically we compared our fees with a number of other states. Another question was, what is the renewal fee? How much does it cost to renew just a single private investigator from other states? Third question is, what is the initial fee to become a private investigator company in Tennessee and other states? Number 4 was, what is the renewal fee for a private investigator company in Tennessee and other states? And the last 2 questions, what is the number of private investigators licensed in other states? And number 6, what is the number of private investigative companies licensed in other states? And this is all compared to Tennessee. Next 2 slides show the states that were chosen for this study. As you know, Tennessee has quite a few border states, so we figured that would be a pretty good. I know I used to work for Tennessee Wildlife, and we were always comparing ourselves with the border states. You know, how much do they make across the border? How many of this do they have and that? So we chose our border states for a comparison. And I've listed those with the asterisk. And then the other states that we chose, we did a little research and found out that some of these states seem to have, New York was one, for example. I read something they have more private investigators per capita than most any other state in the nation. I don't know. I didn't come up with a reason why, unless it's because New York City is there, and typically where you have a lot of people, you have a lot of need for your profession. And in the other states, again, the border states have the asterisk, and then the other states there are just states that are near our border or similar in size and other comparisons. The greatest challenge to this study came with questions number 5 and 6. The actual number of licensed individuals and the companies. And part of that is because of the way states keep up with it. When I talked to Ohio and they told me they had 24,000, I said something to Cody and we both about stroked out there. It's like, wait, something's not right. So I did get to the bottom of that. They just had everything lumped all together. So, and I'll break those out for you in a few minutes when we get there. But this was a tough question, number 5 and number 6, because a lot of the states don't keep up with it quite like that. Another challenge was some states are very transparent. Indiana will almost chase you down the street to tell you everything you might like to know and more. Other states are not quite transparent, or not that much. Some of this information is not published and readily available on the internet. We use the internet to a great degree to find some of this information. A number of states they have the FOIL, the Freedom of Information Law, and you have to make a special request in writing. I called them up. I told them, hey, my name is Jeff Winfrey. I'm from the government in Tennessee, and I'm seeking information. And they said, put it in writing, submit it. And in some cases, we received information back from those states. In some cases, we did not. And when we get further into the presentation, the states that there's no information there, we contacted them, and as of about noon yesterday, I had not heard back from them. We sort of set that as a deadline so that I could finish the presentation and have it ready for the board today. So when you see those numbers that are missing, that's the reason. And if you all have questions, if I go across something and a question pops into your mind, I don't mind. Go ahead and raise your hand or stop me, and we can talk about that, or you can hold your question till the end. Either way. There are some special considerations that I would like for you to keep in mind as we go through this. When we tried to compare, it was similar to comparing apples and oranges, simply because all the states keep their records different. Some have everything lumped together. Some have everything pieced out very meticulously, and some you automatically are armed. Some you can be armed or unarmed. Some have renewal fees that they renew every year. Most are every 2 years. Some are 3. One, I think Pennsylvania, after you renew the first time, from there on out, it's every 5 years. So when we tried to compare everything, it turned out to be a little bit difficult, but I'll point some of those out. As I said, Ohio, when we first talked to them, they told me they had 24,000 and something, and as it turns out, 15,704 of that number is security guards. So they have type A, B, and C designations, and the type C is security only. So there's almost 16,000 right there. And then type A was security and investigator, and that was 7,000. So the private investigators only in Ohio was 939. So when you drill down into the numbers, you really found out, exactly what you were looking for. Pennsylvania was a little bit unique, and I just did a little blurb on them just because I spoke with Cody, and she told me that Tennessee used to keep up with the private investigators on a per county basis. That's the way Pennsylvania does, and they have 67 counties, and they sent me a book that had all of their numbers in it, but they are individuals and companies. They're all lumped together. I could have spent about a week going through all 1,300 of them and made a spreadsheet and figured out which ones are which, but I didn't go quite that far. So, but just to see what they look like, they have 3 counties in their state that make up almost half of their total number of private investigators. And those 3 over there that you see, the blue one is Pittsburgh, the orange one or the red one is Norristown, and I think that's kind of part of Philadelphia, and then there's a Philadelphia County, which is where Philadelphia is. So that's kind of the way that state looks. So because these states are a lot different in how they keep up with their numbers and how they report them, some of them didn't quite give us the information we were looking for. I know this board talked about some of these things in the last meeting or the first meeting that I attended. I heard some of you talking about, why are people coming into the profession? If so, why are they? If not, why are they not? I didn't really seek to answer a lot of those questions with this study. However, as we were looking for the information we were seeking, we did find a lot of different things, and California is a perfect example. They require 6,000 hours of investigative experience and $1 million surety bond liability insurance. So, I mean, that is a kind of a big hurdle if you wanted to pursue your profession in California, just as an example. Okay, so exactly what do we look like in Tennessee right now? So we pulled some numbers together. We had some numbers that we thought might be accurate, but then we had some questions about them, and then Cody went back to someone in IT, and they pulled some other numbers together, and so this was the last thing that we came up with, and we looked at Tennessee for the last 6 years. We had the information from 2013 originally through 2017, but we added 2018 there at the end. The number of individual private investigators over that 6-year period decreased by 238 investigators. And that represents an 18.12% reduction in numbers. This is what it looks like on a chart or a graph, and there's not been anything significant except from 17 to 18 is probably the biggest significant drop during that time period, and it dropped about a little over 100, just under 200 in that time frame.
Question, Bain.
Yes.
Could that not reflect baby boomers retiring? Is there an age? Did you notice, or did you research that?
I did not research that.
I understand.
I apologize. I don't have a lot of information for you as to why this is or what happened. This is just what we see happen.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. In that same 6-year comparison, the private investigative company numbers also decreased. They decreased by 114, and that also represents, I think the other one was 18.12%. This is 18.16%. So your company numbers and your individual private investigators over that period of time have decreased almost exactly the same. That's what it looks like. And you see a little bit. There's a little bit different in the yearly trends. It looks like from 2016, 17, and 18, they dropped a little bit more than the first 3 years, but overall, it's been almost the exact proportion in a decrease. Next several slides are going to talk about it's going to talk about the exact number of, and I preface here confirmed. I got some information from the U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics. I questioned that information. It was only good through 2012, and some of the numbers looked kind of funny, so I really wasn't real confident in those numbers and exactly. Plus, I don't know exactly how they got them. I mean, I don't know if it was part of the U.S. Census study or what. But at any rate, these numbers you're about to see are just those that are confirmed numbers. In other words, a state called me back or Bradley and said, this is how many we have. So you'll see that a lot of the numbers are missing there. And if they're missing, it's just simply that they didn't call us back or they didn't email back. I got something from Pennsylvania in the mail Monday, I think, of this week. I got an email from New York one day this week as well. So we may get other information later. I don't know. But so those that are down at 0, that just means we're not able to get that information. I will note here that Mississippi, you see Mississippi there in the middle of that spread, and that's mostly because it's in alphabetical order, and that's just where it ended up. But Mississippi, they have private investigators, but the state doesn't regulate it. Bradley worked on the border states, and he explained a little bit about Mississippi. If you want to contribute a small amount of money to there's like a state organization or something like that, you can do that and become a private investigator there. So we didn't get any, they didn't have any numbers for us on that. You see Tennessee out there. I put Tennessee orange everywhere. I'm not necessarily that doesn't mean I'm, only a UT fan. I like UT most of the time. But I colored that just so it would stand out in each of the slides. And so these are confirmed numbers. But the better slide is this one, and it just sort of tells you, you see that Tennessee there is about in the middle, at least of the states that we got information back from. And that's a current number, and that's 1076. Virginia had quite a few, and Cody asked me if that could be inflated, and that was another one, the border state that Bradley worked on, and I discussed that with him, and he felt like, based on his discussion with with the officials and where he found that information, he felt like that was a valid number. Why do they have so many more? Well, you have to realize Virginia does have, when you get up there around Arlington, it's just outside of Washington, D.C., and there again, when you have lots of people, you seem to have lots of need for investigations and things like that. So that could be an explanation as to why they're so far out. But what does it cost? It ranges from $39 in Virginia to $500 in Illinois and Missouri. And Tennessee is sort of in the middle of that road, and they're the same as Kansas. And there's what it looked like on the big chart. And better, to me, those other charts they're pretty, but to me, this shows. I mean, there's Tennessee, kind of right there in the middle. $50. Now, another thing that I want to point out, most of these figures that, or all of those figures that are on there, as best I can attest to, that is a license and a registration fee. That does not include, a lot of states require a test, and they have in some cases, a pretty substantial fee for the test. So that does not account for any training, any kind of education, anything like that. That's just if you walked in the front door here and you said, "Hey, I want to be a private investigator," and they hand you an application, and you pay that application and license fee. That's what those numbers represent. So it would probably cost you a little bit more all the way up and down the board there for those other incidental fees that are involved. This is the Renewal. It ranges from $34 in Virginia, and that was another thing Cody and I talked about. It's pretty cheap to get a private investigator's license in Virginia. $30-something for the license, $34 to renew. That could be part of the reason that there's more there, in addition to the fact that there's more people. Again, Tennessee, to renew is it's $125, and when you put it on that other scale there, it's a little bit on the lighter end of as far as renewal is concerned, with New York and Missouri being at the higher end at $400. This slide here has an error on it, and I found it last night while I was sitting on the couch. I was kind of worried about coming in here and doing this morning, so I thought I'd go through it one more time. But anyway, the error is up there at the top. The initial cost to become a private investigator company, and it's not. It says it ranges from $300 in Arkansas and Indiana. That's actually Tennessee is. That should have said ranges from $250 in Tennessee to $1,000 in West Virginia. So there is a little bit of an error there, but I caught it. Tennessee is on the low end of that. As a matter of fact, it is the lowest, and that is as a sole practitioner. When I first put this together, I had that at $500, and that's another level of company in Tennessee. If you have 5 members, what is it, Cody? 2? Yeah, if you've got over 6 members, then that fee goes up. So that was the initial one that I had in there. So we changed it to the sole practitioner. So it's $250. And when you look at that list, now there's all those states again that we didn't get any information back from, and in some cases we found some of this information. We went directly to their state laws and their rules and regulations, and we found some of those fees, but we didn't find all of them. So what we found, Tennessee is the cheapest if you want to become a company as a sole practitioner. If you are a business or a company and you want to renew, $62 in Texas, all the way up to $500 in Missouri. Tennessee finds itself in the middle with Kansas at $250. And that little chart there kind of shows Tennessee and Kansas right there in the middle. That's the renewal cost. Yes.
I have a question. Through your research on this, did it show that the other states are comfortable or close to us of correct, Ms. Chairman? Isn't that a direct company, and it's according to the renewal of how many people we have?
Right. 2 to 5 and more than 5. The more you have, the more you pay the renewal fee.
Were you able to get any type of that response?
I didn't look that deep into that. I will say this there again, not many other states did it quite like Tennessee in the first place. So that kind of made the comparison again. That threw us back into the apples and oranges thing, because other states, they all did it a little bit differently. Some states you can be a private investigator, and then if you get real busy, you can hire 2 people, and then you're a company, and then you hire somebody over in Donaldson because you have some kind of major crime spree over there or whatever you're investigating, and you open up a branch, and so you got 4 people there, and you're a company, you're 4 different individuals, and you're a branch, all rolled up into one. So that it's kind of hard to compare that with all those states and make some kind of statement that sort of makes any sense out of it. So that's sort of the end of what we put together to answer as best we could those 6 questions that you had. So again, we just brought you some information as far as why, reasons behind this. The only thing I'll say about it is, when you go to college, and everybody now is being encouraged to go to college. I mean, my son's going on the Tennessee Promise. It's free. I really like that idea. Or it's not completely free, but a big chunk of it is. But the thing about it is, when he gets ready to get a job, they're going to want him to have experience. Well, he doesn't have any experience because he spent the last 4 or 5 years in college. If you go to get that job and it requires college and experience, and you try to get the job before you go to college, then you don't have college or experience. So you get into this endless loop of, I can't get a job because I don't have experience, and I can't get experience because I don't have a job. And I don't know if any of y'all have been there, but it's easy to find yourself in that spot. So how do you get into this profession? He even asked me last night. He saw me working on this, and he said, well, how much does that pay? So he's trying to decide what he wants to do with his life. He's not real sure. So But when, like California, when you require 6,000 hours of investigative experience and $1 million insurance bond, that's a pretty major thing to be thinking about. So, in Tennessee, I know you require some investigative experience. You have apprentice programs and things like that. But so I guess you just have to ask yourself the question: how would somebody get into this business here in Tennessee based on their current set of regulations and standards and whatnot? And then just ask the question: would it be easy or difficult to do that? And again, we didn't really look into that specifically, but going through and trying to find all this information, we ran across a lot of mention about this is required in that. So, are there any other questions specifically that I probably led you to more questions than maybe answers, but sometimes that's what studies do.
Alan, are you still with us?
Yes, I am.
All right. Do you have any questions?
No, I do not. And I want to thank you for taking the time. This had to be very time-consuming to put together.
Well, thank you.
Commissioner Bain, being probably relatively old school, I'd like to use the word percolate. Study the numbers, study the presentation, which I think was terrific. Is there a way to get a hold of that in my home office?
Yes, we can send anybody a copy of the presentation if you would like to have it.
Yes, I would.
I just send it out to all commission members. That way you look at it if you wish.
That'd be good. Thank you.
All right.
I will correct that one slide before we send it out to you, and then it'll be a teeny bit more correct than. That 250 figures. Yes, that was really the only thing that unless we get information in later or something. But
Commissioner Bain, you might want to change that Tennessee color, make it bluish, maybe.
Okay, blue.
I jest.
I think we all could agree it stays the same.
Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
And making that presentation
Yes,
for us.
thank you.
That was a lot of work.
Jeff.
It really was.
These two gentlemen that pulled this information together do not work for the Private Investigation Commission. They're in the office for other professions, but in our office, everyone works on everything. So Jeff can work on the applications for security guard, for instance, and he's going to pull over and help us do something else. That's why it has been so difficult to work on a budget. Because, for instance, my salary is a third, and a third because of the professions that we have. But we will be looking into that further as far as the budget's concerned. We wanted to make you ask me to do this trend. I believe Mr. Bain asked me to do this. It was an eye-opener for all of us, I think. Especially, I did some preliminary work and talked with Jeff, and I went, no, I don't think these numbers are right. So I went to IT, and I had them pull these numbers that you have seen. It actually comes out of our database. The IT department pulled it together for us. I did a little spread myself. In 2013, you had 628, 14, 615, 15, 616, 16, 584, 17, 570, and 18, 514.
Commissioner Bain, I'm not following you there, Cody.
I didn't tell you what it was, did I? Okay, let me try that again. If you're private investigators, we're going to do that. In 2013 was 1314. In year 14, you had 1285. That's the decrease. 15, you had 1249. A little bit of a decrease. 2016, you went down to 1228. But on 2018, you're down 1076. That is a pretty good, significant drop. That's in your chart. It's in your spread that you're going to be getting. But that was an eye opener to us. I've told you all along. I felt like we were decreasing. I can see my totals, but sometimes they're not. I'm not real sure about what I'm seeing or where I pulled them. But my numbers came pretty close to what IT had. What are we going to do about this? Well, I don't know the answer to that. I mean, certainly not going to stand out on the street corner and say, come on in, let's be private investigators. I'm going to tell you, for instance, we are having this seminar in Gatlinburg. Very few PIs are even participating. We don't even get an audience here. Sometimes we have individuals, and we do appreciate that. We can go to fairs. It's really hard. We can go to these fairs, and I can say, here is information to become a private investigator. Are you going to hire them? They have no experience. I mean, this is your profession. I don't know. This is something you should be talking about in your association meetings. I think we should be talking, saying, "Hey, what are we going to do to help get people in this industry? If we're going to get people at all in the industry, how are we going to be able to help them?" And I think it's the associations that's going to have to try to help us do that.
I have a question, Madam Director. Larry Flair. Is it legislative? Does it has to go to the Hill for us to change the actual requirements of and the fees? Is for council? Is that a legislative question that they would have to do?
So the requirements would require legislative change that would have to come from the Hill.
I think you addressed it once before, but I forget. If we wanted to introduce the bill and go through the hoops and this, how much time does that individual, whomever that may be, need to do the lobbying and things of that nature? In other words, before it can get on the agenda for a legislative to be introduced. Do you know that answer by chance?
I don't have an exact amount of time. If you're saying if the commission wanted to present something to the commissioner to put in their department bill, that's I don't have timeline for that. All we can do is propose the change, and if the commissioner chooses to include that in her packet to lobby for, it would go that way. Probably the quicker way is for one of you all to obtain a sponsor that's already on the Hill to push for that change. That's probably easier than trying to include that change in the department's package. Just based on the numbers of the industry changing and all of that, and the number of licensees, I think it'll be a hard sell for the commission to say that we need, a huge legislative overhaul.
I know the question was asked earlier about baby boomers. I got about 10 or 15 friends of mine that have retired PIs because of the age to where they're at. And some of the lower numbers of people in terms of their license numbers, a bunch of them have retired.
Commissioner Bain, I questioned my fellow commission members with this. In the last 6 months, I've had I've interacted with two younger folks, both of whom have become licensed PIs, and I was contacted recently by a third who also would like to move in that direction. Has any of the other commission members had that experience with younger folks indicating an interest?
No.
Yes.
Do speak to that, Jerry, if you would.
Well, I'm like Walt. I'm not going to take anybody else into my company for a variety of reasons, but I'm just not going to do it, and I think probably most of the members here on the commission feel the same way.
Bain again. Of the 1,000 and so number licensees, would it be relatively safe to say that the folks who are licensees, a significant number of them are former law enforcement to some degree? To some extent. I had an idea. I don't know that it's a commission thing. I don't know that it's a staff thing, and I'm kind of a neophyte here. However, it seems to me that there are insurance claims associations operating across the state. There are various and sundry types of law enforcement associations operating across the state and meeting. Recently, I've volunteered to speak at a high school, which may or may not take me, and talk about the career of being a PI. And I wonder if we wouldn't find an interest in a sheriff's officer association or a Tennessee Association of Chiefs of Police Association meeting in which we could say to them, I'm very specialized in my work, PI-related work. Others aren't. And yet I've got 2 young people wanting to get into this profession.
Have these 2 young people?
I've got one. I've taken one on, and I'm considering the other.
The apprentices?
One is a licensee, an affiliate now. The other is unlicensed, and you'll meet him Monday. He's coming in to say hi.
At the meeting, good. Now, I have gone to different colleges and spoken when I get the invitation to do so. I'm going to be quite frank with you. They want to talk about security guards. That's basically the quickest thing they can become is a security guard, and that's some of them already are while they're attending school. But yes, I do talk on all the professions. If I do get an invite to go to one of these associations, I would love to go and perhaps take a board member, commission member with me, because it's your profession. All I can speak on is how to become one and how much it's going to cost you, to where you would be able to speak on actually your profession itself.
Then, Bain, responding to that, would commission members be willing to promote the idea to various and sundry associations across the state and step up and participate?
I don't think we can do that as commissioners, can we?
Not as commissioners.
Right. Oh, okay.
No, but you'd be going to me to speak as a private investigator with your experience as a private investigator, not as a commission member,
Right.
because I'm the one there that's going to be speaking on that behalf. You're going to say, this is how, maybe you're going to give your life story. This is how I became a private investigator. This is what I had to do. I mean, sure, do you have stories of rolling around in trash cans, rolling down the hill, and you probably have really interesting stories to tell that we don't do now, and move over into what it actually you doing in the profession now compared to what it was.
And while there are commission members here who would not hire, I don't think that's the prevailing activity across the state. One of the 2 persons with whom I spoke found himself a PI company and was hired.
Yes, if you
Again, the
have
question is
suggestions,
the commission willing to contribute a piece of time in their own area and promote the idea to various and sundry associations that it's time for some of those old grizzled police officers to leave and become licensed PIs?
I do get the invitation to the TIP, what is that, Tennessee Investigators and the other association. But these are already private investigators. So the only thing I'm doing is coming back in. They already know my story at the office. But you're talking about going out into the field to talk to individuals who might be interested in getting into the industry. I think that's great. I can do that. I can tell them what is required legally to do that. I'm not going to be able to tell them what they would do in the industry.
Dr. Shanks,
So I'm willing to.
I think one of the issues, most of us won't hire a PI to work under us, and we're getting stuck on the 2,000 hour. But if you look at the state law, it says or, education. So if somebody has an associate degree in criminal justice or a bachelor's degree in whatever, wouldn't that be enough education to cover the 2,000 hours or the or part?
All right, I'm going to let the attorney address that, but let me explain this to you. When I go to the seminar on Monday, there is no 2,000 hours. 2,000 hours is to start a company, not to become a private investigator.
Right.
There is a very big distinction there.
Okay, but Cody, if we're not hiring private investigators for them to become a private investigator, they had to do like I did and become a company. So we can tell them you can become a company with your bachelor's degree or with your associate degree in criminal justice. Because
and Mr. Shanks, you are correct. It does say the 2,000 hours of investigative experience or 1 year of applicable related experience or education. It says as approved by the commission, so you all do have the authority to look at that education and determine if that is sufficient enough to start a private investigation company.
We've had applicants come before us asking for those waivers or approval from us.
Okay, I think we're talking two different things here.
Yeah.
One is hiring somebody to work for your company. He's not going to do that. But if he's individual who wants to get into the industry, cannot find someone to hire them, that's when they would go to this section, whether it be the 2,000 hours experience or their education.
And I think that's what
that's
what he was talking about. But I was really thinking what Mr. Bain was saying in direction he was going into was to actually us to go out there, get people to get interested in the industry. But who's going to hire them?
Themselves.
So they're going to be a company. Start
Correct.
your own company.
There are some benefits to being both a company and a PI.
And
So
I think that's where Cody is going as far as the outreach is concerned, by having you all as the industry experts to be able to go and sell the attractiveness of this industry to people that don't know. Because like she said, all she can do is point out to them, these are the things you have to do to become a private investigator. But they then need to know these are the opportunities that this license gives you. You can go out and do X, Y, and Z. And I think that's what Cody was speaking to.
Let me ask you a question that was kind of raised. Well, if we go to speak as an individual, an association or whatever, do we identify ourselves are we allowed to identify ourselves as a commissioner member, or is it just PI and company name?
If you get invited to speak, you would need to explain that you're speaking on behalf of yourself as a private investigator, and make it known it's not you're not speaking on.
What I'm saying is if they have
and it's not necessarily that you're hiding that you're a commission member. You're just giving them information.
But if there's a program or agenda that says David Brown, commissioner member, PI Polygraph, we can't do that, can we?
I would advise not to.
No,
that's
it
what I
needs
thought.
to say private investigator number, whatever your
Period.
number is.
Right.
All this results, Larry Flair, all this results to the Sunshine Law, does it not? Is that really what it stems from? That is for us on behalf as a commissioner, we can't discuss outside the public forum anything as a commissioner member, is what I understand it and the way I interpret it. Is that pretty much?
That's correct, but it's also you don't want to say something that they then rely on, thinking that it's coming from the commission.
I got you.
Take this gospel and run with it, and you give them bad
Right.
information.
I've got one other comment, if I may. Over the past year and a half or 2 years, I've had several people come to Flair Enterprises and my company and ask to be hired. When I would interview them, I would ask them what their intentions, why they wanted to be a PI or whatever. They don't want to get out and do the surveillance. They don't want to do the major multi-million-dollar theft, fraud, and things of that nature. They want to be able to sit at their computer and do computer research, backgrounds. And speaking as an owner of a company, you know, I can see where we are having a decline in our industry because of the cyber world, and it's not required to be a PI to do cyber research, in my opinion, or that's the way it's been expressed to me. So I think, and I'm sure the other fellow commissioners realize that as well. You know, I've got a certain fee that my company charges to do background research. I've got a certain fee for this, and this. But so much of this can be done through the computer systems. And when we explain that, even to the people as clients, and honestly, I direct them. I said, save yourself some money, and this is what you can do, and as long as you stay, within the rules. And I think that's got a real big impact on our industry. Is just the cyber world itself. I don't know how we.
Combat.
I don't like the word "get around it." I don't know how we address it. And again, if we addressed it, it would, in my opinion, if we addressed to try to get legislative to say if you do research for more than one person and this and that and so on through the cyber world, are you required a license? I don't know how you're going to get around that. I just don't know how to address that. And I don't know if today's the platform to even go into it. And I just wanted to make that comment.
Well, I think all of our discussion that we've had here in the past half hour is based on our budget and whether we're going to make the budget or not, and whether we're going to be in the sunset area. And it seems to me like, looking at the figures of our surplus and deficit, that the major expense we have is the Edison expenditures, and that is more than our income. Can we do away with Edison?
Well, it's nice knowing you there, Mr. Valentine, because that's where my salary comes from. Lighten it up in here just a little bit.
Okay.
That is Walt Valentine.
What? Well,
Let the record state that Mr. Valentine said that.
That's why I told you I need to have Assistant Commissioner Carter Lawrence come in. And I told you when I started this that we are taking a look at that. We're taking a look at the expenses on our computer. We're looking at the expenses for the employees. Gentlemen, there's only so much I'm going to be able to do with that. These salaries are set. We've got a computer, and we have to pay our fair share for it. I told you before, though, really the only thing I can hold down is expenses, and that's nothing more than paper and something like that nature. That's all we can do. So before I say anything else, I'm going to leave it at that so I can talk with the Assistant Commissioner. We can see what we're going to do, how he can assist us with this. But you do need to realize it might not be a solution.
it seems to me like if we're trying to balance the budget, that we could simply increase the fees for renewal from $125 to $200.
I do.
And that would put us in line with a lot of other states. And I don't know how much revenue that would generate. But the way it is right now, our expenditures are pretty cast in concrete.
Yes, it costs a lot to run a 9-member commission.
And we're not going to have any more income.
That's what it looks like to me. I don't see the trend of more people coming in to generate more additional income.
My best guess is we're going to have fewer members come into the business.
Commissioner Bain, that may be the first thing I question or object to. I'm not sure I agree with that.
Well, it's gone down every year for
Yes,
the
sir, it
past
has.
20 years. I don't see any change in that.
I understand.
Question. If I'm going back to the company, that's our issue. We got to get people wanting to start companies. If the board agrees, if somebody has a criminal justice degree and they apply, instead of coming to us, if we say yes, if they have a criminal justice degree, that qualifies for 2,000 hours. Would you have to bring that to us every time?
But yes, the commission has the authority to make that decision, but I'd have to bring it before you, yes.
No, he's saying if they agree to that now,
Okay. I'm sorry, I misunderstood.
you can delegate that authority if that's the standard you want to set for education for a company.
You know, if it's a criminal justice degree that's related to investigations, I mean, you got a lot of students that are trying to be crime scene techs, and they're getting out and realizing TBI is the only place they can go, and they're already booked and full, and here they got a degree but can't use it. So
Yeah, so that's something that the commission can decide is acceptable, qualifying education essentially, for their application for a company. And if you all make that decision and Cody gets an application that is reflective of that, she wouldn't have to bring that to you all to approve.
How many applicants have we had this year for PI?
I don't have that figure for this year. This year started July.
Okay, well,
18, and then
17.
I just have the number of licensees. I don't have the number of applicants available.
but again, if that ideal of criminal justice degree or whatever associate degree, if we start having issues, we always can address it. No, they need to come before us from this point on. We could do that also, couldn't we?
Yes, sir. If they meet those requirements, you don't even that she's listed. You don't even see the applications. I approve of them myself. They meet the requirements. The only ones you're going to see, but you have not seen applications in a long time. You might have seen a polygraph, but you hadn't seen a private investigator.
That's my point. We haven't seen any in a long, long
apply
time.
are getting a license because they're qualified.
So basically, if I make a motion, I'm not making one, but if I make a motion that says if somebody has an associate degree in criminal justice or a bachelor's degree with some criminal justice, that would qualify for a PI company.
Yes, you can make that motion is the short answer. I think the question becomes if you say a bachelor's degree with some criminal justice, I think the commission needs to decide how much criminal justice education is enough.
Bain, I'll hold. I'll wait.
Okay, like we mentioned, a minor in criminal justice. So if we have a minor in criminal justice with a bachelor's, bachelor's with a minor in criminal justice.
If that's what the commission desires, yes.
Oh no! No, I don't. I'm sorry. Sometimes my face gives me away. I just that's not really. I don't think the issue here. Those people that are coming in meet these requirements.
But people aren't coming because they don't have the requirements. I have people saying, I don't have 2,000 hours. I can't get there.
To start their own company.
To start their own company. You got to, we're not going to hire them. We need to get people to start their own companies and be competitors with us. And
so again, I think it may be more of an issue of educating them that this requirement is an or situation. Yeah. But it's not necessarily that the commission needs to say this education qualifies. It's that the public needs to know that it's not 2,000 and the 1 year of education. If we can educate them in some way that it's an either or situation, I think that may address what you're thinking about.
But I'd rather Cody be able to approve it instead of having to come to us every time.
I think what she's saying is she does. If a person submits an application and they have a bachelor's degree that looks at education, because oftentimes she will come to me and we'll look at it. And if there's a question, she'll bring it to the commission. But if it's clear that it is clear within the investigation.
Okay, so that's already being done with people with, I'm sorry,
that.
I thought we weren't getting those.
Mr. Bain, in 2015 and 16 and 17, in 2015, 16, and 17 fiscal years, was this commission profitable, meaning in the black? And I think I'm hearing is this is the first year.
Yes. Yeah.
This first year we're in the red.
Yes. This one here we have is the fiscal year that ended in 17. It's the first year that you have actually been in the red. Is it?
And
I can remember now.
Okay.
I'd have to go back and pull my
What's that?
budgets
From
and
14,
things.
this is the first time
This
it's
is for,
happened.
yeah, you could have hit some rocky road, but 17 is one that really stands out with the 21,000, and you've already in the red for July, and I'm sure you're probably already in the red for August. I'd have to take a look at that. I see the trend as the whole year going that way. Have you been profitable in the past? Well, we don't actually make a profit.
No,
We were in the black.
Thank you.
Yes,
That's what I meant.
we have.
Okay, I'm just looking at the numbers on Jeff's presentation and seeing the difference in PI numbers between 16 and 18 amount to about 150 PIs. So that represents 150 licensees that did not pay.
Right.
So, yes. While I see the trends over these last 6 years, and thank you, Mr. Winfrey, I do believe it works out there for the enterprising person.
Looking at the computer. Just give me just a moment, because you asked a question. I believe the question was asking me how many applicants we had this year. Was that not a question I was asked?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that 15? 15 open applications that have not been approved yet. Among those, but could be somebody with the criminal records is not going to get approved, or might not meet or decide not to, or lose their company affiliation or whatever. But as it stands right now, there's 15.
3 months, over 3 months, roughly.
Yes, sir. That's over. That's July. Yes, sir. Started with this new fiscal year.
How do we raise the renewal fee?
The trend that I'm actually seeing is deregulation on the Hill, or that temp. Someone would find a representative on the Hill to submit this information, but I've said before, I don't believe you could raise fees on the application because you don't deter the individual getting into the industry. So it's going to be raising renewal fees. So I'd have to sit down and try to figure out roughly how many I anticipate for this year, see how much of an increase that would have to be, because I don't know that right off the top of my head. I tend to.
If we have 200 renewals at $75, that's $15,000.
Okay, but maybe this raising fees is not the way. Is that the way to keep this program running? Am I going to raise them again the following year, the following year, the following year?
But we haven't raised them in many, many years.
That's true.
If we keep the budget the way it is now, that would be quite a surplus.
I think those rules would be hard to pass when there are already people that are deciding not to renew at the cost that it is now. Because there's a decrease in the number of licensees every year, I think that once it gets to the Hill, I think it would be hard to justify why we need to increase the fees on the people who are currently licensed when people are leaving the industry at the pace that they are. And
Are they leaving
that's a hurdle.
I don't think they're leaving because of the fees.
Age.
I understand that.
At
What
all.
I'm saying is you don't want to
That's-
seem as though you are, for lack of a better word, punishing the people that are still here because people are leaving the industry for whatever reason.
But you've just presented to us the fact that Tennessee is very, very low in the renewal fees. So if we're going to stay a viable commission, we've going to have more income. And the answer is not getting more people to come into the industry because we can't control that.
Bain agrees.
But we can raise the fees on renewal.
Okay, what fee was that you presented there, Mr. Valentine?
Changing the renewal fees from $125 to $200.
Okay, so the number that we have would be what? Did you have?
Well, if you multiply that $75 times 200 people, that would be $15,000.
That doesn't cover you already. You're in the budget. You're in the red 21.
All right, but let me give you this. We got 1,074 PIs. Is that correct? Every 2 years it comes up for renewal. 80,550 is $75 increase. You split that in half, it's 40,000 a year.
I'm not going to dispute your.
No, I'm just saying that's if we're low, we can't keep operating in the red. That's for sure. We need to do something, and 15 applicants is not a whole lot coming in.
That's right, Mr. Valentine. You would be going on the hill with me this time instead of Mr. Brown, if that's necessary.
I second that.
You could go for support there, Mr. Brown, because actually, I'll be probably calling in.
Oh.
Okay, have we beat this dead horse enough?
Bain has another question. I wonder if the initial application fee, I know there's an offset, but I'll throw the question out there. If there was a reduction in the initial application and a corresponding increase or a marginally larger increase in renewals, because our renewals are among the lowest in the country, or in the 12 states. I wonder if that might not also attract some new PIs. Just a thought.
Mr. Russo, you got any comments?
No, I am listening at this point, trying to digest this, and I think everybody getting the slideshow and just really digesting where we are, and it would be interesting, and it is interesting to see that looks like we might be doing better than some other states, and I think we need to figure out or discuss more. Money may be an issue, but how you go about making the industry attractive to people and expand. A lot of young people and old people don't really understand what the PI industry is and what it is all capable of doing in 2018. So we may need to look at that also.
If it's okay with the commission and the chair, I'm going to table the discussion about fees until I have an opportunity to speak with the assistant commissioner and closely at what we have here and get an explanation on it and let him come in and present it.
I had one other question. What are the ramifications if we deregulate?
Alan Russo, I think that's a scary thought, especially with some of the complaints that the legislative report, the legal report was today, and we are legislated to have no legislation. I think that would hurt the credibility of those that have worked so hard for good reputation.
There would be a possibility that they actually, I don't know the professional term for it, instead of being a license, maybe it could be a registration. So you would still have PIs that would register as private investigators.
But no oversight?
Maybe that means that they would lose a company affiliation. Maybe it'd just be private. I don't know those ramifications. I can see some of differences being made there. Of course, there's always the possibility that the whole profession is deregulated. What, 2 complaints? I mean, it was 4, but it was a PI and his company that made 2 complaints. How many did you hear last month? How many did you, last meeting? How many did you hear the meeting before that? Mostly what you're hearing, I think, is somebody didn't give me a report. Could that not be in, what's that court called? Yeah, a civil matter? I don't know. So there's a lot, maybe different ramifications. Don't ask me them questions.
Okay. Are we through the administrative matters?
I've got one question for Ashley. If this commission makes recommendations for changes in the law and sends them to the commissioner, why would the commissioner not include them when she sends them over to the Hill?
She's granted a certain amount of leeway of which programs. There are 27 programs here. There may be some that require more immediate action than what we've presented, but there are a lot of considerations for the commissioner as to which law she's going to propose in her packet.
So she can present recommendations for each individual thing, like Polygraph. You know, we made those several months ago. We made recommendations to have changes made in the law. She chose not to send them to the Hill. I'm just wondering why.
Again, it has to go with what is a priority for the programs. I can't really speak to what those discussions are. It's the commissioner's decision. I'm sorry, I don't have more information for you.
Commissioner Bain, I'd like to ask Mr. Richards, as the representative of Polygraph, pretty important business, to weigh in on what he's been hearing these last 45 minutes.
What you're referring to?
In terms of industry trends, in terms of numbers, in terms of
as far as
relative to Polygraph.
As far as Polygraph is concerned, most of the examiners are law enforcement. It's very, very difficult for a private examiner who's not been in law enforcement to get a polygraph license, because you can't find got a man now that is been to the school in Atlanta. This guy is a PhD. He's retired from DOE. He was a UT professor, but he can't find, or he's having difficulty finding a sponsor. You have to have 50 examinations in order to get your license. Unless you're a police examiner, it's difficult to get those 50.
Plus, you have 50 kids and you want to put them on each on Polygraph. I'm kidding. I jest.
Police departments will not sponsor a private examiner. You have to look elsewhere. Polygraph work to get your 50 examinations.
Where do you see the polygraph industry going?
Well, if you're a police examiner and you difficult for a private examiner or for a private person to get a license.
Thank you.
Do we have any other administrative matters?
So I believe we're down to the education report. Education.
Executive Director Cody Vest, the education report.
The education committee met this morning. Do you have that information? Do you know?
Yes. We approved 4 different courses to the Knoxville ACFE chapter, to Devan and Associates, and 2 to Steve Reed for Nashville Corporate Security Symposium and Active Shooter Preparedness Workshop.
Shanks makes a motion to accept it.
Commissioner Brown seconds it.
We have a motion and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
No, we call the roll.
We'll do a roll call. Stuart Bain,
Aye.
David Brown,
Aye.
Larry Flair,
Aye.
Jerry Richards, Alan Russo,
Aye.
Doug Shanks,
Aye.
Walt Valentine.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
Do we have any unfinished business?
Just a little bit, yes, sir. We do. No, unfinished. I'm sorry, no unfinished business.
Do we have any new business?
We have the new dates for 2019. Commission dates. And once
That's
again,
quarterly as opposed to
yes, sir.
every other month.
We looked at that. We decided the commission did for 4 meetings a year, starting in November. Again, I'm gonna bring it up that maybe we could move the commission meetings from a Friday to another day. With Nashville the way it is, with the traffic, people coming in on the weekends, I don't know how much trouble you're having getting rooms, leaving. I have a program that meets on Thursdays, for instance.
Shanks, I'm happy with a Thursday.
I would like a Monday or Wednesday if we can.
I'll meet anytime you want to.
Oh, there you go.
I'm not object anytime.
Bain seconds that. I'll meet any time too.
No, you cannot vote, Stuart. Okay, so no, we would have to go back out and look because we already did the dates for next year. We have to consider what's happening in Nashville for you to even get into Nashville. What the Predators go on, or a concert happening, or whatever might be happening, and they're usually coming in on the weekend to do this time. So we'll take a look, and hopefully I'll come back to you at the November meeting and propose some new.
A lot of times when the legislature is in action, it's hard to get a room. And the room rates go up.
All right. Perhaps I can have a vote from the commission. We can change it to a Thursday. Would that be
I make a motion that we change our date to a Thursday. I don't have a second.
I'll second it. We'll take it to vote and see.
I would like it on Wednesday, but
Bain with a question. Why Thursday? As again, what you said.
Why Wednesday, actually?
Well,
but
why
I already
Wednesday?
have a meeting.
But Fridays are usually busier.
Yes.
Okay.
Fridays is extremely busy. Because for us to get ready for a board meeting, it takes several days. So Wednesday, we don't care. I have one that's already meeting on Thursday. It works fine. But if you want to meet on a Wednesday, this is your commission. I'll do it every day that you want us to do.
I'll throw it back at you. What's better for you and the staff?
Goes on in Nashville when I research this. It's like a Monday through Wednesday, and towards the end of the weeks are when it's stopping. And a lot of stuff will start on a Monday and a Tuesday again.
So Bain here. So Thursdays in between that Monday through Wednesday, and then the weekend.
Thursdays and Fridays were a lot better with a lot of stuff going on.
But if you want to do Wednesday, whatever you vote for is okay with me. I don't care.
May I offer, this is Alan Russo, Mr. Chairman, may I offer an amendment to the motion?
Yes, sir.
Would you consider an amendment to the motion that we wait for a report back from the staff on the feasibility of what dates will work better between, I think you said Monday and Thursday? Because of the various activities, we might get ourselves in the same situation if we just blankly say Thursday without giving the staff a chance to look at other activities going on throughout the year.
Thank you, Mr. Russo. Yes, sir. I think that's okay with the commission. We'll take a look at Wednesday or Thursday, and then we'll come back to you in November, or if not, or maybe even sooner. I can send you an email if we see it looks good. So we'll vote in November.
I guess I need to take away my motion.
Draw your motion.
Which I'll do that.
All right. We don't need a motion for that. I'll just do the research. And I'm going to look for Wednesday or Thursday, if that's okay with the commission.
Bain here, it's fine. You sure understand, in 2019, we're going to quarters. As for me, Fridays are generally easier, but I'm going to be happy to meet anytime.
We serve at your discretion, so any day that you choose is when we'll do that. And I really appreciate that. We have been asking for years to change it from a Friday. So that's great. Thank you. We'll take a look at it, and we'll come back to you in November and give you the new dates, either be on a Wednesday or Thursday. If at all possible, we have to go out and see what's happening for next year. Because you got to, here in Nashville, you need to go ahead and make your room reservations for the entire year. I mean that seriously, because it's just popping here in Nashville. Is anybody having trouble getting a room?
Alan Russo here. I have from time to time, depending on what basketball games or football games are going on.
Yes, sir. That's why I said once I give you this schedule, we need to go ahead and book it for the whole year, wherever you're going to stay at.
You need to pay the extra refundable so you can cancel it in case of bad weather.
There's a possibility. Mr. Flair, what's your problem with getting a
schedule of the atmosphere of Nashville?
Oh, okay.
And they're gouging the rooms. You can't get a room under $350 in downtown. You can go over to the one over here, I think, but that's my issue, and I do it in advance online.
Okay, let me explain that to you. If you're asking for the state rate, you need to call. Do not do it online. There are several hotels around here that are offering the state rate.
My experience, Madam Chairman, or Director, I'm sorry, when you go online or you call them in person, and I discussed it earlier with one of the other people here, like the particular venue that I use, my senior used to be rate was cheaper than the state. So I would always book it that way because it saved the state some money. Now this occasion and the other places that I stay at the different venues, the state rate was cheaper than the senior. So it's swapped around now. And I found that only here in Davidson County.
Well, I know the Holiday Inn over on Broadway by the convention center, they honor the state rate, and it's 2 blocks, and that's where I stay. And
yes, sir, that's where I sent out an email to my alarm board. They were having some difficulty finding places, and we did find several hotels that were, but you have to call them and ask for the state rate. Yes, I've experienced saying how much is a room and find out it was say $200, and the state rate was even more than what the room was. So you have to know what you're doing there, but make sure you call to make your reservations. But I will do this for you. This information to you as fast as we can. We'll send out an email to everyone.
Is the date November, please?
Right.
Be sure to vote on Tuesday. That Tuesday, though.
I beg your pardon.
Tuesday is a general election. Be sure everybody gets out and votes.
Okay.
Being a good patriot, you know.
Do we have any further new business?
No, sir, I do not.
Bain, with just a comment. There were 10 states who did not reply. There were 10 states where all the information you desired didn't get to you. You anticipate any additional information coming in?
It's possible that because I made a request to Illinois and California and Florida. I did those myself, and I'll have to ask Bradley which ones he asked for. But those states I didn't hear from. I did hear from Ohio officially, Pennsylvania officially, and New York officially. That they responded to written email requests as they indicated.
Well, the reason I ask is between now and November 9, I imagine we're all going to get that presentation that you did. And I would wonder if you get any additional, keep it brief and simple to the point and send it to us.
Sure, I can do that.
Thank you. Thank you for your work.
Yeah, some of those states, like Mississippi, is not going to send you anything. There is no association, no state regulation.
Right.
They've encouraged me to join the association down there, which I have. All it is a listing, basically, what it is. Somebody wants to find a PI in North Mississippi, they'll find me.
Okay, that November date, November the 9th, just if you hadn't already booked your rooms, that is Veterans Day weekend. I want to make sure you go ahead and get your room. Thank you.
Okay. Are there any continuing education participation forum?
No, sir.
Okay. We are through with the agenda.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Flair.
We are adjourned.
No, we got to do a roll call
Got to
vote.
do a roll call. Golly.
Okay, who made the motion?
Flair.
Mr. Flair, did you get that? Who seconded it?
Doug Shanks.
Mr. Shanks, did you get that? Okay. Stuart Bain,
Aye.
David Brown,
Aye.
Larry Flair,
Aye.
Jerry Richards,
Aye.
Alan Russo,
Aye.
Doug Shanks,
Aye.
Walt Valentine.
Aye.
Ayes have it.
We are adjourned.
Thank you, guys, ladies. Miss Misty, it was nice meeting you.